I
Yeah.
actually got to see your movie Companion in November at the Arrow, like the first early screening, which was absolutely fantastic. It was honestly
Oh,
like the
cool.
best crowd because I didn't really know much about the movie going into it. I just knew it was horror, and I was like, sign me up. And it was the best experience ever. So thank you.
Oh, of course. Yeah, thank you very much. I'm glad that you were at that screening. That was the best screening because that was the only time anyone would be able to see it without getting anything spoiled. And anyone watching it now will have, having seen the poster or just reading like the log line on the
Hmm.
Amazon Prime page. It's just you get spoiled so quickly with reading one wrong word, and suddenly you're like, oh shit, I know what this movie's about, and kind of lose the purity of that experience. So I was really happy that you were at that one. That was my number one, my favorite
Yeah, it
screening
was
that we had.
awesome. Yeah, I went with Francis actually. So, and I know you're good friends with Francis, and he's awesome.
Yeah, we're getting coffee in a couple weeks. I love Francis.
Yeah, he's
Big
the
fan of his
best.
movie.
So with this being your first feature film, what was like the biggest challenge that you faced, and what surprised you the most about yourself that is going to help you with your future projects?
Yeah, great question. I mean, where to begin? It was just a learning experience, and I already like I had lunch with someone yesterday. I was just talking about like I watched the movie and I just see all the mistakes, and so I'm so excited to make another movie that like you just keep making less and less mistakes because it's
Hmm.
just like, oh, I can't do that again. But it was a learning experience. The hardest thing I think was that gap between what I was expecting it to be, and what it ended up being. And not that it was bad, it just is different than what was in my head. And I kept trying to, as we are shooting, like, force it into that version of my head, and it just wasn't happening. Because it's just, that's just the nature of the creative process. Is it's the platonic ideal of something versus what it actually is going to be. And so I remember the first week of shooting, I kept coming back to my hotel room and just having like a pounding headache because I was like, this is what it like, even if I got a great performance from the actors, that's not exactly how I imagined, or the most beautiful shot. I'm like, that's not the shot I imagined. It's like, this isn't the movie that I thought it would be. And then it just took I think it took a couple weeks to unlearn that, and kind of embrace this idea that you can actually it can become something else if you let go of that perfectionism, if you just let go of that ideal, and open it up for reinterpretation, reimagining, let other voices in. And that's kind of the fun of making a movie. Is it's scary, and you don't really know what you're going to end up with. Like, you could have as much control as possible, you still, in the editing bay, you'll be like, I thought this scene was great, I thought we nailed it. We clearly didn't. And the opposite happens all the time, where you were like, I went to bed that night, like, thinking that I just destroyed this movie and didn't get the shots that I needed, but this scene is working better than I'd ever imagined. So you're constantly being surprised of what
Yeah.
works and what doesn't work. And that's that is fun. And you just have to, if you expect it, you can allow yourself to have the fun. But if you're, but if you're still, because I'm a writer at heart, and so it's
Hmm.
years and years and years of me being that guy sitting at the computer screen writing something and turning it over to someone else, and then it's so easy to just have that distance from the project, and just have your arms folded and go, well, they fucked it up, like they really
Yeah.
screwed this up, like that damn director. Now that was the only person that could fuck it up was me. So it took some time to get used to that. And then suddenly I feel like I owe a phone call to like every director I've worked with and be like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I understand what it was like now. I get it. I get it. It's tough.
It's funny because we are our like biggest critics, but honestly, like what you brought to the screen was like, especially for like a first time directing, it was like magnificent. Like I loved
Oh, thank
every
you.
single minute of it, and I'm excited to see like what you do next because obviously you said you have your own critiques on like what worked and what didn't work. So seeing that like translate into the next film, I think will be really cool to see.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you
Of
very much.
course.
Like, it's funny timing, because I literally like 2 hours ago sent in the first draft of my next project. So I'm at the precipice of it. It could be getting made, or we'll see what happens. But
Is it the faculty? Because I was going to bring that
it's
up later.
it's not the faculty that I'm writing and not planning on directing it. This is
Yeah.
it's called My Wife and I Bought a Ranch. It was a Reddit short story of all things that a producer sent to me, that the imagery was so like, I read it and then I had nightmares that night, and because the imagery was just stuck in my head. I'd never I read it, but I'd never really like thought of these like images before existing in this context, and
Hmm.
it excited me so much. And we'll see. I'm in this like I got up at 5 a.m. this morning to do my last polish of it, and I'm in this kind of really wacky state where I'm like, well, what I did, is it readable? Did I send in something that's like makes sense? So we'll see. We'll see what the producers say.
So it's a horror film too.
It's a lot more horror than Companion, with
Yeah.
like levity. I don't think I'm capable of writing something that doesn't have, I don't want to say comedy or jokes in it, because I feel like people kind of think of that as like Fairly Brothers kind
Hmm.
of whenever you hear the word comedy, but it levity in that like M. Night Shyamalan sense, that all of his movies I feel like have like a sense of humor. He's really good at that kind of stuff. So I think in that kind of vein, more than comedy.
That's cool. I'm excited for that. That sounds
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you.
um,
We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. It's a crazy idea. It's really crazy. And as I'm writing it, I'm going, this is crazy. And then I have to constantly be reminded that Amazon and the producers and everyone, like they know this. They know that this crazy. So it's
mhm.
not like it takes some of the weight off of me writing
Yeah.
it. That I'm like, no one's going to be surprised that I send this in. They're going to be like, what the hell is this? It's like, there's a bear attack halfway through this movie. Where did this come from? Like, no, guys, it's in this short story. Like, you said yes to it, so I have I can fall back on the fact that there is a source material that came up with this wacky imagery.
I think it helps too that I feel like a lot of the, more recent films have been more like indie and more like, challenging like films. Like obviously like Terrifier, you have all these different things that are doing so well. So I think that also helps like with more original ideas. Like there is a market for it, and I hope this gets made.
Yeah, thank you. And also like the barbarian kind of mindset
Yeah.
is that's becoming what like the twists and turns that you, as a writer, you would inject into your script to entertain yourself, in that like every 10 pages you kind of reinvent like the tone of the movie and reinvent what the movie's about. It's kind of part and parcel to like where everyone is with how we consume content, like short form content. We're kind of TikTokifying movies
Hmm.
by like doing tonal shifts and like twists and turns in a way. And I'm not against it at all. Like that's how I have a very ADHD brain, and I lose focus very easily. So when I'm writing things, I'm always just like every 5 or 6 pages, I'm like, well, like what's the least what's the most unexpected thing that could happen right now? And is this work? Is this unexpected for unexpected sake, or does this tie into like what the story is about? And yeah, so I really appreciate the direction that's going, and maybe you could like look back at like the Coen brothers and Tarantino were doing that like 20, 30 years ago.
That's awesome. And I know you kind of just briefly touched about it, about having that levity, and having that humor in your films. And one of the things that I loved about Companion was that, like, going into it, I thought it was going to be more straight horror, but I laughed my ass off. I thought
Oh,
the
thank you.
comedy worked so well, and the humor, like, was that part of like your writing, or was it more of like the ensemble cast kind of coming together and everything just kind of clicking together? Because there was some pretty damn hilarious parts in that film.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, a little bit of both, honestly. I will say the first draft of Companion was the whole point of me writing that script was to create a writing sample, because I wasn't getting the jobs that I'd wanted. So I was
Hmm.
like, well, let's come up with a bunch of ideas that are in the space that you want to be working. And so I mean that is a little bit why there's so many tonal shifts in the movie, and there's so many like genres kind of smashed into it, because I'm like, well, I can show the world that I do a little bit of everything.
Hmm.
But the funny thing is, the comedy is what came last. And I remember I had like 6 or 7 drafts of the movie that, it just felt like Black Mirror light. It just felt like, it had the sci-fi element, it had the thriller element, the emotional arcs of all the characters were there, but it didn't have that sense of humor. And that's more me than anything, which is ironic for me to like make a writing sample that to reflect my voice, and I'm denying the biggest part of my voice, which is the comedy part of it.
Hmm.
I even had to like remind myself, like, why are you so afraid to put comedy in the script? And I think it's because we always shy away for the things that come like easiest to us, like
Hmm.
the low hanging fruit. And it's just naturally, because I've worked on sitcoms and in comedy in television for so long, like that's just I immediately go to that. And so I kind of dismiss it as being like the easy thing. And so I should not do that. And it was like, the script sucked. And so it didn't, and I knew it sucked, and and I knew it like based on not just like my instincts, like deep down inside, I knew that something was wrong with it, but just based on like sending it to people and being like, yeah, it's good, it's fine. And I'm like, what, it's good and it's fine? Like, it's
That's not
that what
what
I
you want to
want?
hear.
So I went back. I'm like, well, okay, well, what kind of, where are the places that you can put comedy in? And, like I wasn't adding jokes, but like think about the absurdity of this world where this technology exists, and just point attention to it, and hang a lampshade on certain moments, and that's when it really started to sing. Like I love stories about people who are bad at their jobs.
Hmm.
I really just am attracted to people that like just are failures. So the idea of making this like heist from the point of view of people that have never done a heist before, that don't like they don't know how to plan a murder, and so they're not thinking about, like, they're just excited. Like he's so excited that she found the knife and used it. Like he didn't know what was going to happen next. He never
Yep.
read the user manual. So there's all this like, as I started like really like taking a microscope and thinking about like each scene, and where the humor can come in, it's like, oh, there's like so much plenty there. I mean, there's so much opportunity for humor in this story. And then when I started adding it, I could feel it as I was writing, like, oh, this is me. This is good now.
one
And
of
that
one
was
of my
literally the
Oh, go
last
ahead.
draft.
Well, it's funny.
Yeah.
One of my favorite moments in the film that like was more comedic was the dance number in the dino suit. I thought I couldn't stop smiling during that, and that song was stuck in my head. So, like, did you have any other like ways that you filmed those, like the connection, that sync up, besides the grocery store and the dinosaur suit scene?
What do you mean ways?
Like, did you film any other like views of that like sequence? So like obviously you had the dinosaur scene, you had the grocery store, but were there any others that you like originally filmed where the characters met up that didn't make the final cut? Like another idea that you had that was just as funny?
No, I mean, if anything, we just stripped away a lot of what was there. We didn't, yeah, I think for the most part, what you see in the movie is I mean, trying to think of what we ended up cutting, and the things that you do these. The first screening you ever do for the movie is called the friends and family screening, and
Hmm.
I think that's a very misleading term, because if you're smart, you shouldn't be inviting friends and family, because friends and family are not going to tell you if your movie's good or not. They're your friends and they're your family, and they're going to be
Yeah.
supportive, and they're going to be loving, and they're going to just say, great job, keep it up. So to say it's a friends and family screening, I always feel like it's misleading. Like, if you do that, invite peers, obviously, but people
Hmm.
that'll tell you the truth. And so we filled it with people that I didn't know, that gave amazing feedback. And a lot of the feedback was just like, yeah, we get it, Josh is an asshole. So there were many scenes of Josh kind of like pontificating, and going like explaining why he got Iris and what he loves about Iris, and there were just these long monologues. And so those are the most of the things that ended up on the cutting room floor. In addition to, there is a scene where Iris was, I don't know if I've talked at it about this, so this might be an exclusive. We had a we
Oh,
had a
awesome.
we had a scene where she cut her tracking chip out.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
and so that was right after she turned her intelligence up to 100%. She cuts her tracking chip off, and we had this really amazing practical effect, and it looked great. And we put it in the edit, and it was great. And you can see the fear and the pain in her eyes as she's doing it. But why we ended up taking it out of the movie is it was stealing from a moment later on in the movie when she gets her hand set on fire, where you see the pain and like you see if you've already like been with a character that's been through
Yeah.
excruciating pain, it's so much more meaningless later on when in that more impactful moment when she's supposed to be being tortured by your boyfriend, and like suddenly that the weight of that scene it's not as impactful as it could have been. So unfortunately we were just like, well, we should, it's a cool scene and it does make, you know, sense technologically that she would have a tracking chip. So instead we cut that out and then we added that line of Kat saying like, don't you have a Find My Fuckbot app? And they say that he does, but it's on his phone. And so that it's kind of tossed aside instead of having a moment towards. But if you look and you watch the movie, you'll notice that her headband is off after she turned her 100% intelligence off. The reason
Oh,
her
wow.
headband is off is because she takes it off and wraps it around the tracking chip cut. So if you
Oh,
watch the
that's
movie, you can
cool.
see that she has a little bandage on. Her headband is being used as a bandage around her wrist. But people are like, well, I thought that was just like her wanting to look like a badass and wearing it like a
Hmm.
wristband. Like, yeah, yep, sure,
Sure.
great.
Well, now there's another reason. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
And I love all those like little clues that you had sprinkled throughout, like to show us that these characters, obviously, like they might not be real people, but like for Iris, you know, it was her outfit staying the same, or that her makeup never came off in the shower, or you know,
Yeah.
her fingernails kind of stayed the same. So I think that's why the reveal of Patrick hit so hard, was because I didn't notice any clues for him. So did you drop any hints that he was a companion? That like you hope people
We
picked up on?
Yeah, I was just talking to someone about this week, and it was the hardest thing to lose for me in the movie. And I think actually talking, I completely forgot about it until you brought this up. But this was a pretty big. It could have been an amazing Easter egg, but it also could have tipped the bit too much.
Hmm.
And it was Eli talking to Josh, complaining about how his dad is old fashioned and doesn't understand his relationship with Patrick. And so when he's giving this speech, you as the audience are saying, "Oh, his dad's homophobic. His dad doesn't accept his relationship with Patrick." And then obviously when you find out what Patrick is, you're like, you watch the scene again. You're like, "Oh no, his dad's old fashioned because he's like it's his dad is upset that his son is in love with a robot." And so that I that ended up getting shrunk down to just one line now where Eli and Patrick are making out, and then Eli says, "Fuck you, Dad, I'm in love with a robot." We lost that big monologue at the beginning, which would have been a really cool Easter egg, but there was
Hmm.
something really awesome to me about just containing his entire backstory in one sentence and
Yep.
have it happen right before he dies is so tragic. So that's why we cut that monologue, and it also could have just completely, you want to be careful in these twists and turnies, these movies with twists and turns in them, because you don't want to shine spotlights on certain characters, because suddenly people will be kind of like looking at every single decision they make and move that
Hmm.
they make, and shining like a little
It
flashlight on them.
it definitely caught me the most off guard, especially seeing that early screening. Like I did not expect that. And was there always a plan to have two companions in the film?
Yeah, and that was because that was something I'd come up with very, very early on before I even started writing it. And I was just kind of beating it out. I was like, well, and that was born from me knowing that there would be probably, I don't know, like let's be generous and say half of the audience is going to pick up that Iris is a robot.
Hmm.
They know something's off. There are enough clues that maybe they're going to think that Iris is a robot, and those people are going to like, as soon as the reveal happens, go like, I knew it, and they're going to kind of be a little uh uh, 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 they're going to feel like they're better than the movie. You know what I mean? They're going to
Hmm.
be like, oh, I know what this movie is about. I figured out that this whole twist, this movie was built around this. And so Patrick is, like you find out what the heist is. So that's another element that like no one could have possibly known. And then during the heist, when they're having a conversation about money, which is why I think that reveal happens so kind of perfectly in the movie, and
Hmm.
a lot of people don't see it. Is it's centered around the scene where there's like greed and people talking about shares of money, and then you find out there's a robot within that. It's a really odd time to find out that a character is a robot. So it's placed there specifically for those people in the audience that are like, oh shit, maybe I don't really know what this movie is about. It's a sleight of hand trick. It's like the real, to me, the real magician's trick is the Patrick reveal and not the Iris reveal. So yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
And it felt so natural too in that scene. I was like, oh, so this is where we're going with it. And I thought it would just flowed perfectly.
Well, thank you very much.
Of
Yeah,
course.
it just becomes from I forget the moment. I think it's like I would say like probably the moment that Iris escapes. It's like no, now all bets are off, and it's just gonna
Hmm.
be ratcheting up the tension and just adding new information and just not giving the audience a break until you have that phone call breakup scene in the car,
Which was
and
great.
just yeah, and so that's a little moment of rest for the audience to be like, okay, I can sit back and just relax for a little bit, and then it starts up again.
And honestly, I don't think this cast could have pulled this off. Like another cast could have pulled this off. Like I thought every person in this film was perfect for it. So when filming this, how did you know that they were right for these characters? And do you have a favorite memory, or one that stuck with you since filming?
I'll tell you, I mean, I agree with you. Like, I can't imagine anyone else in any of these roles, and they all knocked out of the park, and they were all gracious and nice and so pleasant to work with. And I feel like I'm owed something horrible to happen on my next movie, like just
No.
dealing with ego or something. But yeah, as far as like specific stories, I do remember like for months and months not being able to find the right Iris and bringing in lots of great actors to read that part. And we had 300 self tapes. We had so many actors read for Iris, and there were, I mean, and not to undercut any of them, they were all very talented, and
Mhm,
just what there's just something a little off about all of them. And then we did a chemistry read between Jack Quaid was who came in very early, and Sophie, and it was instantaneously everyone agreed, oh my god, this is like it's her, it's nobody else. Like that's
mhm.
how perfect she was. And so when she came and to the first day of shooting, and it was just constantly being surprised at how great she was, and there was never a moment where I didn't believe her as the character, and she would add things like without discussing it in a good way. Like I remember shooting the first scene in a grocery store, and she's walking she's pushing that grocery cart down the aisle, and I remember thinking in my head, going like, "Wow, Sophie, she's got a really weird walk. Like it's just odd. Like why does she walk like that?" But I guess it's just the way Sophie walks. It didn't even occur to me because we didn't have a discussion about like that was her consciously adding a little bit of kind of what do you call it? What's that called? The uncanny valleyness to
Mhm.
her like movements that they were like very refined and specific, but they're not natural, but not so unnatural that you'd go like something is up with that person. It just makes you go, oh, this person just maybe has a weird walk, which is what I did. And then it's like, oh, yeah, I'm an idiot. She's just an amazing actress. She invented this whole way of walking herself. And then I remember the highest I've been as far as like leaving a scene and going back to my hotel room and just feeling so great was the couch scene. It was just a very simple scene between Iris and Kat, and just
Mhm.
watching, just being able to. There's nothing, no action going on. There's nothing exciting. It's just two women talking on a couch, and I remember just sitting there, is feeling like this is great. Like they're just like they're elevating this dialogue, and it's so exciting. It's that it's exhausting to make movies. It's so exhausting.
Mhm.
So you need moments like that to get you going because the caffeine highs like don't last long enough. Like you need that like that energy, something to energize you that's other than coffee. And yeah, it's like moments like that that really get you through. Um, Everyone else is just fantastic. I'm trying to think if there's any interesting stories. I'm
It's funny.
forgetting. I think the one thing I'm really proud of for someone like Lucas Gage playing Patrick is it's it's one of those roles where it's not it's really flashy on the page.
Hmm.
You're like, oh my god, I want to play Patrick. You think about this character. Well, he's a robot. He's part of. He's got this big reveal, and he like gets to beat the shit out of people, and he has these turns, and he becomes a murder bot, and it seems like a role that would be really exciting for an actor to sink their teeth in. And I remember having a first meeting with Patrick, or sorry, with Lucas, and being like, if you need to know, like, this is not going to be an exciting role to play because he's going to be so understated. You're going to want to act. You're
Hmm.
going to want to perform, and that is like, I'm going to constantly be telling you not to do that. Like, this is like so subdued, and it's almost like nothing. And and like, to his credit, he did that, and I could see him, like, people would, like, all these characters would give these big monologues, and I could just see him like itching, like, I want to act, I want to
Hmm.
act, I want to. Like, no, no, Patrick doesn't act. Patrick is just a baseline. He's nothing. So I was really proud of him to actually, like, to swallow his thespianism, his and and just kind of play it more subdued.
Which I
Because
think
I don't.
honestly worked in his favor, like,
Yeah,
especially for, like, the big reveal, because like, him toning it down and not doing other things, I think that really helped a lot.
yeah, yeah, he's fantastic at it, and yeah, I can't. And Rupert Friend as Sergey,
Oh, so
that
good.
is, that was the thing. That was the role I was the most scared of, because
Mhm.
that could have easily turned into a Simpsons character. Like the things he's saying and his
Mhm.
look, like, he looks like he doesn't belong, and so it was really important that it's someone that could, like, he shouldn't belong. He should stick out like a sore thumb, and he should throw the audience off. But you also want him to feel like he exists in this universe too.
Mhm.
So that was tough to pull off. And I remember one of the hardest days of shooting, not like taxing in the sense that we were like, not having enough time to shoot. It was more like emotional. Like, it was, I forget the scene, but it was between Irish. I've since saying Irish all the time.
It's
Iris and
okay.
Josh. That's their ship name.
Yeah, I like that.
Iris and Josh. Um,
Irish.
I would say that all the time on set, but it's a scene between them, and it wasn't working. It's not because of them. It was, I can't remember why it wasn't working. It eventually did work, but there was something about the scene that wasn't working. And I remember that was also the day that Rupert Friend came to set, not to act, but to put on his costume, and
Mhm.
his fake facial hair, and his mullet, and all the things we, and his scar, all the things we did to make Rupert Friend look less attractive, because he's a very attractive British man. Um, but we didn't have, because he was one of the last people we cast, and so we didn't have time to fly him in early
Mhm.
and like experiment with like scars and mustaches and outfits. And so he literally was coming the day before he shot his first scene. And so my philosophy is always, when I'm trying to figure something out, I'm like, let's break it first. Let's go too far so we know what's wrong.
Mhm.
And so I told that to everyone. It's like, let's go too far with Sergey. Let's give him too big a mustache. Let's give him too big a mullet. Let's give him too big a scar, and just put him in the most audacious, crazy outfit. I tell them that, and I give them that direction, and I see him for the first time, and I'm like, no, oh no, like, this is gonna be awful. And so I'm shooting this scene that's not working, and then I'm leaving that set to go to the wardrobe department and see Sergey, and he
Mhm.
just has this ridiculous. He looks like a character from Logan Lucky or something. He's got
Yeah.
like a giant mustache, and the yeah, everything is too far. What I told them to do, but it's still like, I wasn't prepared to see it, and so I was like, okay, stay calm. You're fine. You're fine. Just make the scar a little smaller, make the mustache a little smaller, make the mullet a little smaller, and Rupert, can you go downstairs to wardrobe and find something that you think would work? And then I went back to set, That scene got a little better, came back to Rupert, and he still looked ridiculous, but he looked better. And so went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until finally I'm like, oh God, thank God. He looks like this is great. Like he looks fine. The mustache is believable. The mullet is not too long, and he looks like a real person. So, but that was one of those days where I'm like, oh no, if this is like, what did what did I do? Like, why did I make him a Russian oligarch? Like, this is not gonna work.
It's funny too because I feel like having him look like that, you instantly think that he is like this bad Russian guy, and then like that big reveal happens about him, and you're like, oh, so he was just they were just trying to get money from him.
Yeah, I mean that was the whole point. The whole point
Hmm.
of the first 20 minutes of the movie is to lure the audience into them thinking it's something that it's not. It's you have a James Bond villain, you have the gay side couple that are just
Hmm.
that seem like they're just there to check boxes, like they're just there to be like the comic relief. You have the bitchy best friend character that doesn't like the main character, and then you have like the like kind of like aloof Jay Baruchel boyfriend, and the girl like who's within all of that, and then like you yeah, you want your audience to go like, okay, I know what this movie is, and then as soon as you start messing with what their expectations are, then I think a really fun thing happens where they're not trying to guess what the movie is anymore. They're like, I don't know what this movie is anymore. I'll just sit back and just like let it tell me what it is, because there's no point in guessing, because like that that's what the movie is. It's going to subvert what you think it's going to zig when you expect it to zag.
One of the things that you brought up a second ago too is Sophie's like walk, which was one of the things that actually after leaving that Arrow screening, we were trying to figure out like when we thought she was an actual robot. And that was one of the things my friends picked up on. So that's really cool that she kind of like added that flair on her own. Cause
Hmm.
I never noticed it watching it the first time. I was like, oh, it's just normal walk. But then when you like,
Yeah.
I've seen it a few times since then, you can pick up on that. And I'm like, oh, that's a really cool little nod there.
We went really far, and I'm so this was too far. Like so we had two tests after the friends and family. We did two true test
Hmm.
screenings of like one with 100 people, just random people from Burbank, and one with 300 people from Burbank at the AMC. But the 100-person one, we had we had the moment where I don't know if you how much how well you remember it, but she's walking down she it's the moment where Jack plants a knife in her pocket, and then she goes downstairs and she goes to the lake, and then he picks up the phone and
Yep.
he's hitting the buttons. You still aren't supposed to know what's going on. He hits a button, and it cuts to her walking. We had a version of the movie where he hits a button and she goes, she like actively like shakes and
Oh,
shivers. And everyone that had like everyone involved in the movie is like, well, that's way too far. Everyone's going to know she's a robot. Then he
yeah.
literally hits a button and then she does it. We showed it to the audience. No one, like, even with that in the movie, no one thought she was a robot with that 100-person test outs. And I was like, shit, like that, like audiences are so savvy. Like I don't want to risk it, so let's not even try putting it in. But it's cool to know that we could have gone that far and people still wouldn't have known. So it's amazing what you can get away with. and
Yeah.
and 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 I think, and I could be wrong, who knows, like psychologically why anyone watches a movie the way they do. But this is a note that we got in the friends and family that really like made me realize what the voiceover at the beginning was doing, because the whole point of that voiceover was it was a carryover from my when I was writing as a spec, because I knew there
Mhm.
was going to be 20 pages of a script that not a lot was going to happen. It's going to be a lot of exposition. And so when you're writing when you're making when you're creating a spec, you never know how long an exec or producer is going to read it. They could throw it in the trash 5 pages in, 10 pages in. You're constantly vying for the attention of someone that's reading 1,000 things. And so the whole point of that voiceover was to get to that moment where she says, the day I met Josh and the day I killed him.
Mhm.
That line was there just to go, trust me, this is the promise of a nightmare. Things are going to happen. There's going to be violence coming on. Just give it some time, but it's going to happen. So that's all that was there for. And I thought, okay, maybe we'll keep it in, maybe we won't. But, but the more important thing is that like we see that like the meet cute is supposed to be um in the same way that you're luring people into the sense of like what they think the movie is. It's like, let's make the most like obvious meet cute possible. So everyone dismisses this movie immediately and goes like, that's the lamest way for two people to meet. They meet in a supermarket, like over oranges, that and this joke about the oranges falling, that's really lame. Like that's dumb. It seems so pre-written and just canned. And I'm like, yes, like that's the point of it. It's
Hmm.
supposed to seem very canned. And so but like beyond that, it was like the voiceover was like, well, I don't know if we need the voiceover or not. And then we did the friends and family screening, and Mike Flanagan, I'm a huge fan of, was like went to it, and I'm so happy that he did, because his note was like, you have to keep that in, because what that's doing is the day I killed him, it's actually putting the audience in this position where they're going like, the day I killed him, like she's gonna kill him. What did he do to deserve it? And so you're
Yep.
actually you're laser focused on him and his behaviors for the next 20 minutes, because you're like, what is wrong with this guy that she killed him? Like, is this a fatal attraction kind of thing? Like, what's going on? And so that is not like, not even realizing that's what I did it, and like it wasn't that purposeful when I was writing it. It's just a really happy accident. And I think he's totally right. If you haven't seen the trailer and you haven't seen the poster and you're watching the movie cold, it does kind of prime the audience to think of this as this, like, not necessarily Josh's story, but something about Josh, that they're more focused on him than Iris. And that was such an invaluable feedback.
That's
Best note.
awesome.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Mike Flanagan fan as well. I love all of
Yeah.
his shows and films, so that's a really cool little note.
It was hard not to geek out when I was like, that's Mike
Right?
Flanagan's there. Oh my God. Mike
Oh, I
Flanagan.
I
Holy
geeked out
shit.
when I met him. I
Yeah.
was like, "Wait,
Yeah.
what?"
Yeah. He's great. I can't wait to see Life of Chuck. I just watched
Same.
that trailer. Yeah.
I know I'm gonna cry.
Yeah. Okay.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm enjoying this. This has been awesome, so
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah,
Uh,
this is perfect timing, because I was at a point where I was like getting so like, you have to do all these podcasts and Q&As,
mhm.
and now it's been about like, I think I'm like a month and a half separated from them, so it just feels like it's brand new again, and it's fun
Perfect.
talking about the movie.
Hell yeah. So,
And this is good timing too, because it comes out, I don't know when your podcast is going to come out, but we start streaming on HBO, or yeah, HBO Max, April 18th, so this Friday.
yeah, which I was gonna ask that later on, but since you brought it up, what do you
Yeah.
want people to know about this now that it's going to streaming? Like, what do you hope people take away, from it being on a new platform and people who might not have even heard about the movie?
Well, I hope no one I hope everyone who's listening to this has seen the movie, because we've
Mhm.
spoiled the shit out of
Oh,
it.
yeah.
So hopefully there's a spoiler warning, and maybe
Yes,
they
there
listen to
will
this
be.
after it. But I you know, the way that like studios will look at slower budget movies, we have a New Line logo at the beginning of our movie, but we were still like a sub $10 million movie. We're still like
Mhm,
a small movie, and so they market it as a small movie. It doesn't matter how well you test. It doesn't matter, like the reviews, like Beyond Fest went through the roof. The
mhm,
studio is not going to go like, we're going to put as much money in this as we did as Mickey 17. They're just not going to do that. So, so maybe we didn't get the biggest marketing push, and maybe we left some money on the table for the and on the box office. But one great thing about that is, like, I think there's gonna be a whole new group of people that are gonna be discovering it for the first time, and we have more control for it being on Max now. Like,
mhm,
I reach out to the producers just to make sure, like, the trailer that they pair with the Max, the button next to Max, when you
mhm,
click on the trailer, it's like, just can we just make sure it's not the one that reveals that she's a robot, and let's just make it the original teaser, because it's almost like, this is complete reset. This is like, we're gonna find a whole new, like, audience that maybe, because it's very expensive to see a movie, and there's a ton of
mhm,
competition. So I don't blame anyone for not going out to the movies these days, because they can stay home and watch anything that they want. But now we're that thing. Like,
mhm,
like, I know a lot of young people love this movie. I know a lot of people that, like, maybe don't have the money, like the discretionary income to pay whatever it is on iTunes now, like $20 to buy. Like, you can watch it for free on Max, and so yeah, I'm hoping that we just discover a whole new swath of people that can enjoy it fresh, in the same way that you watched it at Beyond Fest, not knowing anything about it.
I hope so too. And that was one of the things that, you brought up the trailers. Like, one of the things that really disappointed me is, like, when I saw it at Arrow and seeing it before trailers even came out, none of the twists were spoiled. So I wanted to ask you, like, obviously, they revealed a lot in that first trailer. So, like, did you have any control or say in, like, what should be in that trailer? Like, how does that relationship work? Because obviously they spoiled quite a bit. So,
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's tough, and I can kind of relate might be too big a word, but I understand where they're coming from
mhm.
because of what I'm just talking about, where there's so much competition, there's so much noise now. You kind of have to tell people what movie they're seeing, especially
Yeah.
people in like the flyover states that they have to get a babysitter that you're paying like $100 for two movie
Hmm.
tickets and food and parking, and it's expensive, so you have to go like, no, like this is the movie you're going to see, like it's kind of like it's we're never going to go back to the 50s where people would go see movies just because a movie was
Yeah.
out. I wish that we could, and
Hmm.
there's the really special thing to it, but like the benefit of what's going on now is that there's just movies and TV shows for everyone. There's so much content out there, and so
Hmm.
it's bittersweet. It's but more sweet than bitter for sure. But like, yeah, it's a tough position to be in because the whole point of the script was to make something that is undefinable. But how do you market something that's undefinable?
Yeah.
How do you market a movie that has seven different like genres kind of mashed into one? Because you can't get that through in a trailer. It'll feel schizophrenic. It'll feel
Hmm.
like it just doesn't make any sense. And so I understand that I kind of handed over a movie to Warner Brothers marketing that was kind of unmarketable. So
Hmm.
obviously their instinct is going to be, let's push the horror side of things because that's the thing that sells the most tickets. It has the built-in audience. Horror fans will go see movies.
Yeah.
They're such a great audience and they're so dependable. I wish every genre had people as devoted as horror fans. So yeah, I wish that we could have got away with just that teaser, that
Hmm.
didn't show that she's a robot, that just had the hand on fire, where if you wanted to, you could go on Reddit and you could
Yeah.
all these theories of, I mean, people figured it out pretty quickly, but there's fun in not knowing that for sure, because that full trailer is just like, no, there's no ambiguity. She's a robot.
If it's any consolation, like, I did talk to a lot of friends who did see that trailer, with everything spoiled, and they still had an absolute blast. And some of them even actually said that they kind of, to like what you were saying, is like, their parents and they had to find sitters and things like that. And knowing like some of those things going into the film also kind of enhanced it for them in a way. So,
Yeah.
but I was
Yeah,
on the
it's
other end.
tough. Yeah, no, believe me, I'm right there in the middle. I understand
Yeah.
both sides. I
Hmm.
think, but it's that's what's fun about it being a Max, because now it's because it was kind of under marketed.
Hmm.
Now I can kind of have what we wanted. We have this new kind of reach that we didn't have. 100 million subscribers or whatever insane number that Max has, and it's also coming out the second between episodes 1 and 2 of Last of Us. So there's a lot of people are going to be watching Max. So
Hmm.
I'm really hoping that it finds a wider audience than it had before.
I definitely will, like, try to spread the word on this. And I think that teaser
Yeah.
is actually where my quote was in, which was so cool to
The bad
see.
one. Yeah,
It,
so sorry. So
no,
the
it's
one
okay.
so no, not your quote wasn't bad. Not and the trailer's not bad. I shouldn't say bad. Bad's the wrong word. I should say the one that gives away too
No, it
much.
wasn't in that one. It was in the teaser. The first,
uh
like, teaser. I don't think it was in the spoiler.
No,
Maybe
because
it was.
we had no
Yeah.
pull quotes in the
Okay. So then, yeah.
teaser. Yeah, you're I'm sorry. So
Damn it.
your trailer your quote will not be on Max because I specifically said I don't want the one that has. I wish that they made a second version of that one where your quote was in, that we
Mm,
just took out the robot one, because I love that trailer. I love the
yeah.
music that they did, and I love like that they I think they captured the tone of the movie, where it's like a little like tongue in cheek and it's fun, and you see some of the kills and you see the humor. And so I did love that trailer a lot, and I appreciated that if you're gonna reveal that she's a robot, they didn't make it the end of the trailer. They didn't go
Hmm.
like build robot. It was just like tucked in the middle of it to make you
Yeah,
go, to make you go like, oh, this movie's not about the twist. It's about other things. So
hmm,
like there are like not benefits, but there were positives to that trailer, and I didn't answer this question you asked earlier, but yeah, Warner Brothers marketing was very collaborative
that's
in a
good.
surprising way. I really liked everyone over there.
I always wondered that, like, how trailers get put out and like how much say, like, the people who actually made the movie are like how much say they have in it. So it was cool to kind of get
Yeah,
that.
I would say it even depends. I could say it's dependent on the studio, but it also within that it could also depend on your attitude. Like
Hmm.
you can burn bridges really fast in this
Yeah,
industry, and people will stop listening to you if you have an attitude because they don't have to listen to you. So I mean that's a good lesson for anyone is like be agreeable, be articulate. It's I think David Fincher said like Final Cut is great to have, but what's more important is the ability to kind of articulate your vision. So yeah, don't burn bridges. Don't be intense. Don't be an asshole, and people will want to work with you in
that's
all facets.
that's awesome. Well, last couple questions I had for you. One of
Yeah.
them was I absolutely loved the big finale with the wine opener.
Mhm.
It's like one of my all-time favorite kills, and like those little
Thank you.
brain pieces coming out was so gross and gnarly. How did you come up with that?
Yeah, that was funny. So that was originally how Sergey was going to die.
Oh
So
wow.
Sergey brings a bottle of wine
Hmm.
down to the beach, and she uses that to kill him. And I remember, and that was in the script. And then I got to the point where she kills Josh, and I'm like, how do I top the wine opener? Like I can't. Like it's impossible. And so I was like, well, fuck, I'll just steal. I'll steal that one. I'll steal that kill. Move that back. And then now we have to figure out how Sergey dies. And that was great that I did that because that's where the planting of the knife came into. It's like, oh, wait a minute, this could be way more intentional. Like, what if it was actually the murder weapon is it's not just that, you know, that Josh turned her self-defense functions and what do you call it? What's the aggression setting up?
Hmm.
He also planted the murder weapon, and um, yeah, so I'm glad that I moved that. And then I don't know if did you see that you can actually see him planting the knife in her pocket? Like you can
Yes.
see, yeah,
I've
yeah,
seen the
that's my
movie
favorite.
like
That's my
5
favorite
times
Easter egg. Oh,
since the
cool, thank
first time,
you.
so
Yeah,
and
thank you.
I
My
bought it.
mom, my mom has also like seen it 7 times, and she
Yeah.
was like, "Yeah, I watched it. I watched it." And this was when it was still in the theater. They saw it like they took all their friends, like every group of their friends, and then she was like, and I wanted to see if you could see the wine opener on the floor next to her before she grabs it, and you can see it. I'm like, yeah, mom, yeah, yeah.
It's so awesome. I have to show you. I don't know if you can see it, but it is my number 1 movie of the year, so
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
of course,
That's
I
great.
had to pull up the letterbox.
Yeah.
Um,
What's number two?
number 2, I have let's see, The Rivals of Amziah King. I was just at South
I've
by
never heard of
Southwest.
that.
It's a new movie with Matthew McConaughey, and it was incredible.
Okay, great.
I don't know if
I can't
anybody
wait to
has
see
bought
it.
it yet. But yeah, it's like it's a heist movie. It's about like finding your family, and then it's also like about like a bee farmer. Like he owns
Okay.
bees and he like harvests honey. It's like so many different genres, but it's like magnificent. It's like
It's
truly
like an
one of a
indie
kind.
version of The Beekeeper.
Pretty much. Yep.
I love
But
it.
it was great. And then I did want to ask because obviously you are writing The Faculty. Is there anything you can tell us about that? Because I am a huge fan of the original movie.
Oh, I'm a gigantic fan of it. I'm not gonna tell you anything about the story. I'll say
You're
I'm
fine.
very excited about my take
Okay.
on it. I'll say that. But what I can tell you is that it's not a paycheck job. I was very adamant to my like agents and producers that I've worked with. Like, I'm not doing sequels. I'm not doing sequels. I'm not doing a sequel.
Hmm.
There's not a single sequel you can give to me that I'd want to do. And then I had dinner with the two guys from Boulder Light, and they go, "What about the faculty?" And I go, damn it, like how did you find the one movie that I would write the sequel to? And it's not just because I'm a huge fan of the movie, which
Hmm.
I am, but I'm a huge fan of pod people movies. I've always been, and I've always wanted to do a pod person movie that takes place in a high school, and the thing that was always stopping me was because the faculty exists. I'm like, well, I can take all the ideas I've had, because I have a ton of ideas, like about like what if there's an invasion of the body snatchers in a high school, and I could just without betraying any of the mythology of the faculty, add that there and then have fun in that universe. I was like, yeah, I want to do that. I really, and not only do I want to do it, but I think it's an opportunity to like tell a story that I don't think is being told right now about like mental health among
Hmm.
teenagers, and this is the right kind of property to do that in, because
Oh,
it's
that's cool.
all the like the fun things that come with the idea of pod people and
Hmm.
conformity, and that easy answer of it's just, yeah. I'm super excited about it. I haven't really. Don't tell the producers that. Producers, hopefully you're not listening. I haven't
Yeah.
started writing it yet, but I will. I am planning on starting tomorrow.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see it, and I can't wait to see it come out. And the last question I have for you, I know Companion is supposed to like they're supposed to love everything that you do. So, but they also seem very sentient and self-aware. So obviously part of that was because Josh jailbroke his sex bot. But I use movies as a way to connect with people. I think it's like one of the best ways to bridge the gap and help somebody understand who you are as a person better. So if you had a companion, what movie would you show them?
Oh, great question. That's like it's a better question than if I had kids, and because I don't have kids.
Yeah.
It's more realistic that I'd have a companion robot than a kid. How fucked up is that?
It's okay.
I would
I'm in the
show
same boat.
them. I mean, it's a boring answer. I would show them Fargo. Like Fargo, I think is a perfect movie. I think it's a masterpiece, and I watch it all like constantly. And yeah, I love
I
everything about it.
I love
Boring, very
Fargo.
boring answer. Everyone loves
No,
that movie.
it's fantastic. I watched it
Yeah.
for the first time last Christmas, actually,
Yeah. Oh,
which
really?
it
You
took
you
me
hadn't
that
seen it
long to
before?
watch it. I know, and I
Yeah.
loved every single minute of it.
Yeah. You know what I love about it too? It's epic and it's only 97 minutes long.
Yep.
It feels like a movie that's like 2 hours, 2.5 hours long. Just the story. It's an ensemble cast. There's so much weight to it. You have Carter Burwell's score to it. One of the best character introductions ever with Marge Gunderson. Yeah, everything about that movie I love.
That's awesome. Well, it's a perfect answer. And listen, thank you
Yeah, of
so much for like
course.
this entire chat. It was such a pleasure, and I can't wait for this movie to hit Max and for this new audience to check it out, man.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course, congrats on
Yeah.
everything.
Thank you.